Ma- Mayo, and then came
Okay,
home.
that's what it was. Yeah.
Leaving the rest up to you, Kristen, okay?
Okay, sure. I'll let you know as soon as we're live.
We did an event at Mayo Clinic.
Okay, we're live.
Fantastic. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're coming to you live with Dr. Gladys McGarey. My name is Kathleen Scherek. I am the host and producer of the Sacred Child Summit. Dr. Gladys has been gracious to be a speaker, featured speaker at the summit in the past, and we hope in the future as well. I'm your host today for this celebration and conversation with Dr. Gladys McGarey. Dr. Gladys, who has celebrated her 103rd birthday. And so technically, Dr. Gladys, you are 103 and 8 days.
That's true.
You're into your 104th birthday.
Isn't that awesome?
Your 104th year. That is amazing. I was explaining you a little bit before that in the Sacred Child community, we've begun a season of gifting. And my gift to the community has been, over the last week or so, a series of conversations that you and I had last year that I thought that they would enjoy, and they have been enjoying. And so thank you for that. And it was my gift to my community. Your gift is to be here with us today, to share your wisdom, to just speak from your heart as you always do. And the community that joins us today live and that joins us later on the replay and also on YouTube in the future here is a community that loves you and supports you and is here to celebrate you. And that's their gift to you.
Isn't that awesome?
Isn't that so?
I'm enjoying, totally in awe of where we are in this world as far as communication is concerned. It's we didn't even have a phone when I was growing up, you know.
There was no phone in the jungles of the Himalayas?
No. And even up in the mountain where we were at the school, I think the school had a phone, but I don't know who they could have called.
Well, let me formally introduce Dr. Gladys. I mean, her list of accomplishments is longer than my arm, but Dr. Gladys is widely known and acclaimed as the mother of holistic medicine. She was one of the co-founders of the American Holistic Medical Association, and she, among other things, has been a beacon to women, children, families throughout her professional life in particular. And Dr. Gladys, you have, I just need to share that at the age of 85 or 86, you were on a donkey in the Afghani desert going to teach Afghanistan women about healthy birth. Isn't that right? 85, 86, something like that?
86, yeah.
86. A year makes a difference. That was 20 years ago. Oh. For you, that's something. Well, welcome, join us. Thank you for joining us. Happy birthday to you, Dr. Gladys.
Thank you.
It's just wonderful to have you here. What I'd like to share with people is to make sure that you know that we have we're celebrating Dr. Gladys and also her most recent book, which is The Well-Lived Life, a 102-year-old's 6 secrets to health and happiness at any age. I mean, it's an old book for you now, even though it just came out. So you're older. Are you going to add secrets, Dr. Gladys? So as the author of The Well-Lived Life, you know, something that I work with my clients around, and something that Stephen Covey shared in the 70s, I think it was, Stephen Covey, who's the well-known author of the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, is to begin with the end in mind. Like, what's your intention? What's your intention as a family? What's your intention for the life that you want to live as a family, what the life you want to create for your children. And Dr. Gladys, I'm just curious about, did you set out to live a certain kind of life?
I didn't know it at the time, except that I did know it. You know, I was telling my parents that I was a doctor, and my dolls were forever getting some kind of a problem, so that my sister wouldn't let me play with hers because mine ended up needing to be taken care of.
You mean you were a doctor when you were a child?
Yeah,
And so when did you first know that you wanted to be a doctor?
when I was a kid. I mean, I knew when I have great granddaughters, 3 of them, who say they're doctors. It's not what they're going to be. It's my little Lucy during the COVID thing, and she had to get a shot, and she was having a fit about it. She didn't want to go, but she had to go. And when she came back, she stood in front of her grandfather, who's my oldest son. He's retired orthopedic surgeon, and she stands in front of him and she says, and then when I'm a doctor, I'm going to be a good doctor. She was.
You know, I love the whole notion, even just the notion, Dr. Gladys, that young children can have an innate knowing, can have a sense for what their life can be, for what they might want their life to be. I myself had a sense at the age 4 or 5. I know exactly where I was standing. I know the scenario. And the comment that I made to myself, it wasn't as clear as I want to be a doctor. But the point is, my goodness, are you kidding? Under the age of 6, children sometimes already know. And so isn't that something to inform us as we support them?
I think it's not only our own education as the older ones to listen to what the little ones are saying, but it's absolutely awesome. You know, they have so much wisdom that they're bringing in with them. And here we are to soak that up and put it into context with where we're living. That's the trick of it.
Well, and Dr. Gladys, I do have a question from a 7-year-old, and she wants to know, since you grew up in the jungles, did you ever play with the leopards?
I shot one.
Oh,
because it was invading the village, and the village people didn't know what to do about it. So my dad he had a gun, and he showed me how to use it. And we climbed up in a tree and sat there at night, waiting for the leopard to come back out to go into the village. And as it came out, my dad and I shot and killed it, and I have its skin on in the dresser here. So
You had some cubs when they were real little that you.
yeah, and during that time when we were in the jungles, my brother shot a leopard, a mother, and there were baby leopards, 3 of them, and we had baby leopard pets for a while.
oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
They didn't do well in captivity. They didn't last very long. We did the best we could, but anyway, that was,
So
we were right there with the jungle all around us, and it was an amazing way to grow up.
well, little 7-year-old is going to be so excited to know you played with leopard cubs. Oh my goodness! So. And in terms of a well-lived life, Dr. Gladys, it occurs to me, we all live some version of the hero's journey, right? We live the adventure that sometimes we don't know until we take our next step in life. We don't know what the next step is until something rises up to meet the foot that we step forward with.
Right.
And your journey of, what an adventure, And
Yeah.
The hero's journey is joys and triumphs, it's despair, it's sadness. And, I know this is not the first time you've been asked this, I'm sure. And yet what do you consider one of your pinnacles
Right now, what
right
I
now?
no, that's what I consider a pinnacle. The moment, this moment, is the pinnacle, because if you're not living in the moment, you've missed something. And so, whatever. Last night we were at a Mayo Clinic, but each moment is the most important thing that's happening in the personal world of each one of us. And incidentally, when we were working on the title for the book, I really rejected that title for a while until the people I was working with said, well, it's not your life we're talking about. We're talking about the life of the person who reads it. So it's the reader's well-lived life.
And so now we don't have any excuse, do we?
No, I think we're all in it together.
Well, the hero's journey is that up and down, the cascading and all. And which just brings to mind, like, have you had a hero? Who have you looked up to in your life?
Well, my parents really were amazing people, so they've been awesome. But Gandhi was awesome. And I had teachers that helped me. I could not have been on this path the way I have been without the people who have helped me. I call them my angels in the flesh. And some of them are people who have not been even addressed as important people, but they've been important in my life. The little maid that helped me when I was doing my internship, and the hospital where I was doing it, Deaconess Hospital in Cincinnati, had never had a woman doctor there before. So I didn't have any place to sleep when I was on call, except I had the X-ray table with a blanket and a pillow. And during that time, the chief resident at the hospital knew three things. One was that women didn't belong as doctors, so he was going to make it so that something had happened, I'd drop out. Two, that I didn't belong. And three, that pregnant women didn't belong, because I'd gotten married after graduating from medical school, and I was now pregnant with my oldest son. And so he did everything he could to make it hard for me, which meant that I had surgery starting at 7 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get any breakfast before we went into surgery. And he'd give me the longest ones that there were, which was 5 and 6 hours. So I'd be standing there, almost not standing there. It was very, very hard. But
oh my goodness.
One,
This is you're saying that the other medical students had it a little easier.
oh yeah, they could come and get breakfast and go on with it. But I couldn't. There was no way of getting it. Breakfast didn't start until 8 o'clock. So all of a sudden, the schedule started to change, and I didn't do it. And so the resident is chewing me out for changing, and I said, I didn't do it. I didn't touch that. But one night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, I was on call. I jumped off of the table, the X-ray table, and started down the hall to answer the call, because I didn't have a telephone in my room, but I had one down the hall. And here I saw Lucille, the little maid on our floor, who had pulled a chair up to the blackboard and was erasing my name at the top and putting another doctor's name up there so that he'd have to take that space. And she puts my name in at 9 o'clock. And, she could have lost her job for that, but she probably saved my life, because what she did was change the schedule enough that I could get breakfast and I could be able to, do this thing that I was there to do. But there are people like that who in my life have been ones who have allowed me to go ahead and take the next step, and then the next step, and the next step, no matter how hard it has been. And they've just, so that's the kind of person who has helped me down this path. And I think we have them all over when we're beginning to be aware that we're in a hard place, and we don't know how we're going to get through it, and somebody gets our arm and helps us along.
Like, look for the heroes, look for the everyday hero in your life.
Yeah.
It's actually that's a wonderful encouragement for families, for anyone who is caring for children, our own inner child.
Oh, yeah.
Looking for the next hero in our life, the person that makes our travel a little bit easier, a person that helps us out. Just as you said, it's so beautiful. And I'm listening to you, and it does strike me, one woman helping another. And one of the things that you have discussed in the past is your version of manifestation, of manifesting the future. And yet you don't call it manifestation, do you?
No. You want to hear how?
I want to hear about it. Yeah, share.
All right. I believe in working with our dreams too. These angels that show up, but things happen in our dreams if we're watching and begin and asking questions which really guide us. So, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe something like that, I woke up when I heard a huge crash, and I didn't know what it was. And I woke up and I was kind of in the dream and out of the dream. And what I saw was myself in a valley in the high Himalayas. And on one hand, on the right-hand side, there was a young woman just actually splayed out on the ground, barely breathing. And on the left-hand side, there was a huge man dressed in armor in the same position, barely breathing. And a voice came to me saying, these two energies have been trying to destroy each other or try to get to understand each other by beating their fists together. It's time they got their fingers together and understood what this is all about. And that was my dream. Well, I had a friend I could talk to about dreams, so I called her. And as I was talking to her, I realized that the woman, the girl, was on the right-hand side in my dream. That's the masculine side. And the man was on the left-hand side. That's the feminine side. That we, in our attempt to understand who we were and what our job is on this earth and so on at this time, just had not understood that the feminine side is where the woman was, and the masculine side is where the
or the opposite. Yes,
on the feminine side.
On the feminine side.
They were, in other words, we women were trying to manifest things that we couldn't manifest. That's not our job. And there were men who were trying to do it on the left-hand side, and they were working, this whole issue of gender differentiation and so on has been very difficult to understand. And so as we talked about it, she said, I've been thinking about another word that I think could help us understand what we are working with in this energy. She says, that men, we talk about manifesting, and that's great. Manifesting is like Jacob's ladder. You take a step, and then you go another step, you manifest something, you get your degree, you do your work, and so on. You climb Jacob's ladder. And that's what's really what men are the masculine. I don't mean masculine energy, because the problem is that we have both these energies within each one of us. But the masculine energy has been trying to manifest some things sometimes, and it's very, very difficult. She said, I've been thinking of another word because I think it helps to explain things, and that's Femi-festation. She says,
let's say it again, Femi-festation.
Femi-festation. She says, Femi-festation is a spiral, and you're climbing this spiral, but you can be up at the second rung and know what's going on up at the fifth rung and know what's going on at the second rung. In other words, we as mothers could have one baby in our arms, washing the dishes, and we know what the kids are doing on the floor. It's that ability to be able to femifest at the different levels of what's going on in our lives. And I think it's a great word. It helps me understand what I'm doing, because we both have these energies within us, and we haven't really known what to do with it. And manifesting for us can be very hard unless we understand our job in the process of manifest. Like, for instance, think about what a pregnancy is. A pregnancy is a complete femifestation. The baby that grows within us is part of us. That baby knows what we think, what we eat, what we're doing. We're doing it together and maturing together. This is a real process, just like not like it, but our digestive process is the same kind of thing. We don't know what's going on in there, except the baby's doing what it needs to do until she is ready to manifest. And then he takes its first breath and becomes another unit, another entity. And so that manifestation, but all the time, he's manifesting, he's also manifesting who he is becoming, so that when he takes his first breath, he can manifest what his job is on the earth this time.
That is so many beautiful things to consider and to think about. It's uplifting, Dr. Gladys, to consider a different way of looking at our roles in the world, and then also just the awareness that there's a biological manifestation. You also mentioned manifesting through dream work, which I know you've done for such a long time. You really are masterful at that. And are there ways what are the top ways that you, with all your experience, use your dreams to help your everyday life?
Well, one of the ways it's been very helpful is asking patients, when I'm counseling patients, we may be working with something and not really know the answer to it, but ask them to follow their dreams and see. And when we do that, we very often find what it is that we were looking for in the way of an answer that I might not be able, but once in a while I will be able to dream for that patient. But usually what it's been given them the not just the permission, but the ability to look at their dreams enough that they can begin to interpret them.
And is this because the dream state is another level of consciousness?
It's a way in which our unconscious mind can contact our conscious mind. It's an amazing study, and it really adds another whole dimension to path that we are taking, each one of us.
You know, I just read in the last couple of weeks about a company that has created a product where you can create through lucid dreaming
Oh.
your reality when you wake up, and there's a halo. I think it's called something like a halo. I'm not promoting the product. I'm just saying I read something of interest, and what it brings me to is in 100 years on the planet, 100 plus, 103 plus 8 days on the planet, what has been some of the advancements that you've been just most over the moon about? I mean, we've had so many technology changes, and you've mentioned communication is amazing now, and you've been speaking on podcasts and webinars. What were some of the countries that you mentioned you've been speaking with?
Oh, all around the world, you know, Wales and Zambia and India and Turkey, you know, and Ohio.
Well, we're out of all these advancements, and I understand that you have taken a particular interest in stem cell therapy as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the technologies like this that you think, you know, that are most fascinating to you?
Well, you know, let me go way back, because back when here's a story that I think you will like. My oldest brother met a lady when they were in a language school, but he didn't need to. He knew the language, so that she had to study, so she was in a different part of the mountain. We were up in the Himalayas, and he had met this lovely lady, and he was interested in her, and she was interested in him, but they couldn't connect because there was no way of talking to each other. He was up 7,000 feet above where she was on the mountain, you know, and he couldn't holler at her or anything. So, and there was no telephone. So what they did, we had these amazing dogs that my dad had trained, and they were black labs. My brother John would write a note and put down for Ada, and he'd put the note in Laddie's collar, and he'd say to the dog, "Go to Ada," and the dog would run down the hill and go to the place where Ada was, and the other nurses would see her and see the dog coming, and they'd yell, "Ada, your mailman's here." And so she would go out, take the note from the dog, write her response, and she'd say to him, "Laddie, go to John," and he'd run way back up again. I mean, that's the way we were able to communicate with each other. About when I was, about 10 years old, there was no other way. However, you know, as awesome as that is, what we're doing right now is awesome. It's an amazing thing that I can talk to people around the world.
And they can listen, and that we are so grateful.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing, Dr. Gladys. Yes, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I would like to share a couple of questions from our community. And one of them comes from Jenna, who's in New England, and she's wondering what suggestions you have for children who are traumatized by their parents or caregivers. Are there some things that you might share with us that come to you when you have children on their journey, parents on their own journeys, and then you have them trying to be a family together? Jenna may be a therapist working with families.
Well, I think it's having the therapist actually understand enough so that they can work with the child and find out what that trauma is, because we can conjure up all kinds of things and think we understand what this child is saying. But until we actually can talk to that child and interpret what that child is trying to tell us about what his life is like, we won't really know. It's a matter of listening with understanding and love, so that not only do we encourage the child to let us know what's going on, but understand it too. Let me put that into context with the 5 L's.
The 5 L's.
Yeah.
Please share.
I have a lot of thoughts, and years ago, I was really trying to put them into some kind of context so that I could understand them for myself. And I came up with these 5 L's. The first 2 are love and life. They can't exist without the other. It's like the pregnancy I was talking about. And it's about all of life has to be activated by love, or it can't manifest. It's that process of the flow of energy, which is life and energy, but they are really, really have to work together. You could have a seed in the pyramid for 5,000 years. It can't do anything until life in the form of water and air and so on softens that shell, and the seed can be activated. So those 2 L's are one unit, like the pregnancy. The third one is laughter. Laughter without love is cruel. It's mean. It breaks up families. It causes wars. But laughter with love is joy and understanding. It makes a child giggle. It makes an old lady giggle. It's that inner joy that is part of who and what we are. But it's love that activates that. And the fourth one is labor. Oh my, I got to go to work. Too many diapers. This work is too hard. We drag ourselves through that hard work that we have to do until we find the thing that we came to do. When we find what it is that really is part of who and what we are, which is what love activates. It's what makes a singer sing, what makes a painter paint, which makes me do the things that I'm doing in the field of medicine and in my life, makes Kathleen, you do the wonderful work with parenting. It's a thing that actually we work 15 times as hard as we would if we were dragging ourselves through the whole drudgery of work without love. But love is the activating factor there also. And the 5th L is listening. Listening without love is an empty sound. You can talk yourself blue in the face. If a person doesn't understand what you're saying, it doesn't go anywhere. But listening with love is understanding. It lets us understand, how did my parents work with the people in the jungles of India? They had no technology. What they had was love. And they could reach out to the people with their loving care and make a difference in their lives, and in their personal lives, but also in the lives of the people they were working with. And that's what I saw when I was growing up. And that's what I thought, that's what I need to do.
Those 5 L's, if we incorporated them into our family culture, and knowing that it's your wisdom that is informing this now. We may not have the experience yet, that's for some of us, to understand how love is the activator, but how do we get experience? We try it out. We experiment with it. And so having love be the activator of these wonderful 5 L's is such a lesson for us. It's such an eye opener. We know it conceptually, but to be able to do that when you're changing dirty diapers, when you are, handling all the crazy schedules of a young growing family, if you have clients in a practice that you're trying to take care of and families are in trauma or in grief of something, to understand the listening component as a point of interpreting. In other words, am I interpreting based on my own lens, or am I interpreting actually how the child is speaking to me? Am I hearing clearly? Am I seeing clearly what's before me here? These 5 L's, they sound so simple, don't they, Dr. Gladys? They sound simple.
Simple things are very often simple, but they're there. But it's the answer to the question that you asked me earlier about the child who was going through the trauma. If you can listen to that child and hear what he's really saying, you'll understand. But you have to use love in order to do that. And love is the great healer. It's the great healer of all times.
I understand. I'm recalling autobiography of a yogi with Yogananda, and that a child who cried straight for 2 years, and not necessarily because there was something biological going on, but because of the sense of trauma of being on the planet, of going through the birth canal and the birth process. And yet, if we have this broader perspective about what life entails, then it allows us to think broader as well, that the child may be crying not for what we think. It might not be, their diaper is changed, they are fed, they are surrounded with love, and yet there are other dimensions that we don't know about, the things that you're suggesting that we tie into more intentionally, by seeing beyond, by hearing beyond. That listening is like listening beyond the obvious. And
in my life, that's very true, because my early childhood was, I thought, bliss. But as soon as I started school, I was the class dummy. I'm severely dyslexic. I mean, there was no such a word. But as a child, I couldn't, the letters wouldn't stay put on the page, and the numbers were all, I couldn't do it. And so I was the class dummy. I flunked first grade. I had to repeat it. I went through first grade again, but I got into third grade. And in third grade, I had a teacher. The first teacher really thought I was a dummy. She called me the dummy and all of that. So that was a deep, deep trauma. But the third grade teacher was a teacher who understood some things that the other one didn't. And she saw something in me that she realized I might not be able to read or write, but I could talk and I could understand. And so she appointed me class governor. So I had the opportunity of taking what we in the third grade did and presenting it to the whole student body. Now, that was a very therapeutic thing for me, but it didn't really fix the trauma that had happened before. And so while I'm in this position of being the class governor, we had a play that we did for the whole student body. And it was called The Frog Jumped Over the Pond. And since I was the one who was, I'd gone on for a year before the others, I was taller than the others, I could jump over the pond. And I was the one who got to take this play to the whole student body. And so I walked out on the stage feeling very confident. My mother had made me a a frog suit and dyed it green. And so I was walking out onto the stage. But as I looked at the audience in the first row, my two older brothers were in the first row, and it just set me off my path enough that instead of jumping over the pond, I landed in it. And I'm standing in this pad of water, crying, and the suit is fading. And I think I'm totally gone. I'm destroyed. So I can't move, and the teacher has to come and take me off the stage. So we're at home that night, and my brothers are telling my mother about this, and the audience was hysterically laughing. I mean, this was the funniest thing they'd seen in a long time. And so my brothers were telling my mother and other parts of the family how amazingly funny this whole thing was. And I'm sitting there trying to give them the devil's eye, and they're not paying any attention. But finally, my mother says to them, "All right, boys, now, what can we do as a family to help Gladys if she ever gets into this situation again, so that she won't be having people laughing at her, but laughing with her?" And what I don't remember what my mother, what we as a family did, but whatever it was, it shifted that whole scenario enough that I've been able to give speeches and walk up on the platform and trip before I get there, or some such thing. And before I even get my talk started, I can say something that is humorous enough that it'll catch the audience, and people will be laughing with me before we ever do anything. And so it's that kind of ability to take the things that happen that are so traumatic in life and work with them in a way that can put some humor into them. Humor can transform all of it. And that's one of the huge things my mother taught me.
The transformation of humor, the transformation of laughter, and not laughing at, but laughing with, and the ability to do that. And I believe that there's actually, HeartMath has done research, the HeartMath Institute, around the components of joy. And that when you can transform, and that's not to take trauma lightly, it's to take trauma seriously in terms of how do we actually change the energetic component of it. And what you're talking about is laughter is one of those traits that we inherently have. We don't have to go buy anything. We don't have to go read a book. We have it within ourselves as long as we're cultivating it. And goodness, you've been cultivating it for a while, and we're grateful for that. Dr. Gladys, I want to check the chat here. We've got some messages for you. Here's one. Thank you, Dr. Gladys, for Quentin and Adam, two quick, beautiful, and amazing home births of my sons in 1980 and 81 in Phoenix. She has two questions. Number one, there's some red light therapy for cancer coming up for her. We're going to be a little careful about getting into any, medical consultations here today. But let's see the second question. This beautiful gal wants to leave her home to move to the Polynesians, to Hawaii or Bali, to explore and meditate and do yoga. So how do you make life decisions, Dr. Gladys? That would be part of the question.
Well, first of all, whatever your prayer life is, use it. Whatever your dream life is, use it. Whatever your understanding of how life is going to be, or what you're projected, and use it. Use the science that people have. Use the science that we have available to us. Don't reject any, you can't, that's not, use whatever you have available to you. That's what I'm trying to say. And use it with the understanding that within yourself is the answer, because each one of us have a physician within us. My oldest son, when he came through Phoenix, he's a retired he's a retired orthopedic surgeon, and he was going to Del Rio, Texas to start his practice. And he said to me, "Mom, I'm really scared." He said, "I have all this training. I'm going to have people's lives in my hands." He said, "I don't know if I can handle that." And I said, "Well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you can understand that this training that you have in orthopedic surgery is awesome, and people need it. If they've got something broken, they want people who know how to fix it on the physical level to do that. But after you've done your job, and during the time that you're working with him and doing your job, pay attention to the physician within that patient. Because within each patient, there is that physician who knows why you're sick and what's going on and what you can do about it. So anytime that you're working with somebody, and I'm talking as a generality, if we're working with somebody who doesn't quite know what to do about whatever it is, if we can pay attention to what they're really saying and try to understand it in a way that says the physician within them is talking to me now. That's my colleague. That's the person that I need to understand, whether it's in the form of a dream or form of a prayer or form of a song, or whatever it is, what some child told you, or whatever the activated process is that's bringing the energy to you. With love, you can take that and use it for the most amazing healing you would ever imagine in this world.
Thank you for that. That is, Dr. Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori, the first woman physician in Italy, also talks about the teacher within, and that when we are in the presence of children, to remember that we can connect with their teacher within, because that's who really is outplaying and outpicturing in their life. We have thank you, Dr. Gladys. We have a comment from Hawaii. Thank you, Lonnie, for calling in here. She's thanking you, Dr. Gladys, for your magnificent contribution to humanity and our future. Your well-being philosophy is akin to the traditional Hawaiian healing beliefs, especially the 5 L's.
Great. See how amazing it is to connect at this level? I'm in awe.
Yes, it's really beautiful. It's beautiful. And we have some comments. We met Dr. Gladys many years ago at the APA Congress. She's so beautiful, wise, intelligent, and articulate. APA is an association for prenatal and perinatal health. Another comment that Dr. Gladys was my physician in the 70s and 80s. I've thanked her many times over the years. I feel so blessed to have had her as my physician.
Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure, not just pleasure, my joy.
Dr. Gladys, you have, it seems to me, successfully woven together a very practical approach to life. I mean, you're very practical, and you're out there riding your tricycle, and you're doing things even now that, I'm in awe of. I haven't done that yet. I need to, so thank you. And you're very practical. You also have this deeply developed spiritual life. What have you found to be some of the things that have spoken most to you in developing a spiritual life? Like, what's the key thing that you do to weave these what might seem to be like diverse things, the practical, like being fully human, and then, being more spiritual.
I try to be conscious of every moment as a opportunity to reconnect with the spirit. To me, it's all one thing. And so the steps that I take, here's the thing. This is just a thought. It's not a theology. I'm not teaching this as a theology, but just the kind of thinking that goes on here. Sort of, I think, is God, whatever God means to each one of us. When she created the earth, it was beautiful and it was perfect and everything was just right the way it should be. And then the human being was created. And God said to us as human beings, now you're the only living entities on this earth that has choice and free will. And the earth is perfect. And I now give you dominion over the earth. And we, in our arrogance, thought that God said dominance. And so we have then taken the word dominion, which means taking care of the earth, and we have taken over and done things to Mother Earth that are very cruel. So I think what I'm seeing around the world is people who, like E.T., are reaching for their true humanity. E.T. wanted to go home, and it's that power, that urge within us is looking for the things that will help us go back to our true humanity, which is dominion over the earth. That's the helping. Good old Mother Earth, she's working so hard. And if we can step in and help her, we're going to do a lot of good things for ourselves and for the world.
That is, well, I'm a little speechless. That doesn't happen that often. Thank you, Dr. Gladys, for that.
You're welcome.
Eye-opening, soul-opening. Every time you have a lot of what they call these days mic drop moments. I would have never thought we'd be in a conversation about ET with you today. And there we go. And I understand it entirely. And I think our group does too, our community does. Dr. Gladys, we have the Sacred Child community is parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, educators, doulas, midwives, therapists, and other therapeutic approaches as well. And we do have an acupuncturist who has a question for you. She understands that you made a difference in bringing acupuncture to the US. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? Like, did it not exist here before? How did this occur?
Oh, thank you because I used acupuncture with some birthing after I found out about it. So it was a wonderful, wonderful tool. And we didn't know anything about it. Yeah. In the the early 60s, my husband, Bill McGarey, was writing a newsletter that went around the world called Pathways to Health. People, doctors, and so on, who were interested in other things that we thought was helpful. And one day we got a letter from a mailman in Maine. And he said, in the letter, he said, I've injured my ankle and 3 months ago, and nobody can find out what's wrong with it. I can't walk my route. I'm really in trouble here. And he said, so I was reading your newsletter, and you said something about using a castor oil pack on your neck if you have a sore throat. So I had a sore throat and I put a castor oil pack on my neck and my ankle cleared up. He said, now, if you could tell me why my ankle cleared up, I'd be real happy. And Bill and I looked at each other and we said, we don't have a clue. Why would the castor oil pack clear up his ankle? So
and you and Bill are both medical doctors.
Right. So the next newsletter that went out, Bill wrote that, and he said, if anybody out there has any clue about why this would happen, let us know. And we got a letter from a doctor in Italy who said, if you guys knew anything about acupuncture, you would know that the particular meridian starts at a nose and goes all the way down past the neck to the ankle, so that when the block was cleared in the neck, it was cleared in the ankle. And we looked at each other and we said, what's this meridian stuff? You know, so Bill began writing all around, wrote to the other places, and we began finding out about acupuncture. And about that time, Nixon went to China and saw an appendectomy with acupuncture, and he was talking about it. So all of a sudden, we in this country knew nothing about acupuncture. And so when Bill and I started talking about it, and we were considered completely wackadoodle, you know. However,
did you say wackadoodle?
Yeah. And I won't use the other names.
Okay.
But we started the holistic movement and so on. But we also had a symposium at Stanford University in 1973, which was the first acupuncture symposium in the country. And from that point on, acupuncture has, it's gone wild. It's gone all over the place because it's people knew about it in India, they knew about it in Germany, they knew about it in the Philippines, all over the world knew about it. We didn't know about it. So, it's just it was our privilege to get it that way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Of course, the Chinese is where I believe it originated. And thank you for opening our meridians.
Yeah.
We have Sarah, thank you for joining us from Mexico. She wants to say it's such a great honor to be here listening to such a great woman as Dr. Gladys.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear from you.
Dr. Gladys, we're about to wrap up, and I just wanted to ask, you have mentioned in the past, and I would have put you on the spot just a little bit. You're in your 104th year. We're celebrating you today and every day. And you have now said that you still have a 10-year plan.
I'm in the process of towards building a village for living medicine. A place, and we're, there are places like this around the world where the moment you step onto the ground, healing starts, because the whole thought in that area is about love and healing. And so it's, I'm not sure just where our foundation for living medicine first village is going to be, but we've got a number of places that we're looking at. And it doesn't, it's a concept that can take life and become what it becomes. And that's what I'm so in awe of, the way that it's manifesting here and there all around the world. It's even called blue zones, but it's happening. And again, it's happening, I think, because we humans are really trying to reclaim our true humanity.
Dr. Gladys, Deborah from Greece is saying you're an inspiration. We
Thank-
should have many villages like that, including in Greece.
Yes. Yes. My son-in-law is from Greece. He's a chef from Greece.
Please come to Hawaii. We're a blue zone. We're being invited there, Dr. Gladys, so put it on the agenda.
Right.
Well, under Dr. Gladys, we're going to wrap this up for you. I know you have another engagement, and you continually inspire and uplift from riding a donkey at age 86 in the Afghani desert to help Afghani women to, I think yesterday you were at the Mayo Clinic giving a presentation. Isn't that right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, there are not many. There's nobody in the world that does this. I was going to say there's not many. Let's be frank. So you've been quite an inspiration. What's
We
that?
have our own position. And the glory of it is, it's our spot, especially for us. And we know, we can find it, we know it, we look for it and live it. Don't just try to get over things, just live them.
Oh, I'm going to take that right out today and start using that. I understand, Dr. Gladys, that there's interest, there may be some interest in creating a documentary about your life. When this is posted, we're going to include in the description links to, there may be a crowdsourcing campaign or something about, anyway, links to more information about that, including at GladysMcGarey.com.
Yes.
And by the way, Dr. Gladys is live on Instagram every week, and you can find her at BeGladMD on Instagram. Dr. Gladys, it's our great pleasure today. We're celebrating you. We're celebrating your well-lived life. So thank you for sharing with us how we can live a life that, what do we say, is well, a life that is full, a life that is one of thriving. Because you not only walk the talk, you're now actually interpreting things for us. So you've become, really a master interpreter for us. For those of us who can hear things and not quite get it, we get it when we hear you. So we've got all kinds of beautiful comments coming in, Dr. Gladys. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It'll make you laugh and sing.
Laugh and sing. We're going to go through the day doing that. And also your book is coming out in paperback at around April of next year. So we're going to be looking for that. And, right now, again, it's the season for gifting. We can each take a book. I know we've already had people in the comments saying that they've gifted to other people. They've gifted to people in their family. For a certain period of time here, I'm actually donating a book for every book that someone is purchasing. So go to send us a copy of your confirmed paid receipt, and we'll take care of that. So Dr. Gladys, thank you for being with us. We love you.
I love you all.
I love you. Thank you, everybody. Happy birthday. I'm going to have balloons and all. I'll be celebrating with you every day here.
All right, thank you.
God bless, Dr. Gladys. We'll see you again.
Yes.
All right.
Love you all.
Love you too.